All right, as you know, the federal government is in court against the resident doctors for the continued industrial strike. But there have been a series of agreements reached between the federal government and the resident doctors, National Association of Resident Doctors, which all parties, they negotiated some of these agreements, all the parties signed, and they refused to sign. And as part of the mandate of the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, he submitted some of these issues in disputes to the National Industrial Courts. On the 23rd of August 2021, the federal government filed a motion ex parte to compel the doctors to go back to work, and the court granted that order by asking parties to halt hostilities, which means that they've embarked on a strike, they should call off the strike and go back to their duty posts, which they refused to do in disobedience to the order of the court, which they submitted to its jurisdiction. So we filed committal proceedings to commit them to prison, and also for the hearing of the motion on notice. What was taken was the motion ex parte, so the matter was adjourned today for the hearing of the motion on notice and all pending applications, including contempt proceedings. Now, counsel for the other side raised the issue that they are challenging the jurisdiction of the court to entertain the matter. But of course, we were able to refer the court to the relevant case law, which says that, yes, although issue of jurisdiction ought to be taken first, but once there is issue of contempt, is an exception to the issue that jurisdiction ought to be taken first. So we canvassed that point, where my lord rose to write a ruling on the arguments canvassed by the parties. But in the course of that interlude, a counsel for the resident doctors, Chief Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, approached us on behalf of his clients, indicating that they want the matter to be settled and that his clients are prepared to go back to work. And the documents, some of the MOUs which we signed, which we had agreed on, which they had refused to sign, that they are ready to sign it now and return to work. So, and my lord came back, being that parties are taking this step to resolve this matter, and my lord felt it would be necessary to defer the court's ruling to the next adjournment. So the matter has been adjourned to Friday. So that's a summary of what transpired in court today. So thank you.
What happened in court today was that we were ready to proceed with the matter, but we have filed a notice of plenary objection challenging the jurisdiction of the court to consider the matter. We have also challenged the contempt, application for contempt, filed by the government. But on the part of the defense, we consulted with our clients, and we suggested to the court that since the court had ordered both parties, the government and the doctors, the resident doctors, to cease hostilities, which means both sides. It was not an order directed at the resident doctors alone. The order was directed at the government and the resident doctors. We therefore suggested that both parties be asked to go back to the drawing table, to the negotiation table. Again, this is in line with the directive of the court, the order of the court, as well as the directive of the president, which had been announced publicly. And in appreciation of the crisis in the health sector, the president has also inaugurated a committee headed by the vice president to look into the crisis in the health sector. So we believe very strongly that there is a desire on the part of both parties to put this matter behind us as quickly as possible. While we were in court, while the court graciously stood down the matter, we had consultations on both sides with our clients and the lawyers of the government. We've now agreed that we would like to come back on Friday to report the efforts we'll have made. There is an agreement, right, that was not signed by our client, right? We've studied the agreement, and we have advised our client that since there is a clause there that nobody shall be penalized or sanctioned for participating in the industrial action, that we believe that there should be no inhibition in signing the agreement, trusting that there will be good faith on the part of the government so that we can put this matter behind us. And this clause is normal. Struck by Academic Staff Union of Universities, of Nigerian Medical Association, even of resident doctors. The government had always conceded that when people have gone on strike, on serious dispute, that there's no need to penalize anybody. And everybody has agreed that the health sector in our country is in a state of decay. In fact, the way General Muhammadu Buhari put it in 1984, as a military head of state, was that our hospitals had been reduced to consulting clinics. Unfortunately, today, many of them are mortuaries. And that is why we want all hands on deck to address the crisis in the health sector. And we're happy that the National Industrial Court has shown understanding of the issues. And that was why the court ordered both parties to cease hostilities. That's how it should be. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. The court proceedings started. Both parties, both legal representatives, did what they are supposed to do with regards to the issues on ground. Our legal lead, led by Femi Falana, SAN, Femi Aborishade, SAN, and Chief Ario, met with us and discussed some gray areas with us. Now, those gray areas that have actually been looked into by the top leadership of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. We looked into them, and we also made our prayers known to our legal representative. Sequel to this, the judge, in his wisdom, has given a window of 48 hours for all issues in the Memorandum of Understanding signed at the instance of the Minister of Labour and the Nigerian Medical Association. And within those 48 hours, we expect government to fulfill its part. While we, on our own parts, we are very ready to go back to work as soon as possible. But the caveat that all the decisions as reached shall be done within 48 hours. We know members of the public are in dire need of our services. We are also in dire need to provide our services to the members of the public. And this we do with joy and pride for country and for God. And we are hopeful that within 48 hours, the government arm, led by the Minister of Labour and the Minister of Health, will do all it takes to ensure that all these thriving, pending issues will be resolved and we will return to work. Now, the second question has to do with the Nigerian Medical Association. Every child has a father, and they are bound to be disagreements. But those disagreements are actually discussed in-house. And as such, we have some disagreements with our fathers, the Nigerian Medical Association. We do have. Every child must not be a yes, sir, to his father. You must have some times where you disagree on some issues and not on pecuniary gains. We are actually interested in those burning issues. At the very right time, when the time is ripe, there shall be discussions about that. Whether the NMA is interested in the issues of the NARD strike, the NARD forms about 40% of the workforce of the Nigerian Medical Association, and my guess is as yours, that you cannot have 40% and fight with 40%. 40% being that we are we form the major bulk of the workforce. the resident doctors. We have both the junior residents and the senior residents who serve as specialists. And I'm sure nobody wants to toil with such a group of humans, as it were. And we are very positive that in no distant time, all parties will be on the table, I mean the NMA and all its affiliates, and we'll discuss and iron these great issues out. But of course, nobody is a bastard. We are part of the NMA. We believe in the workability of the NMA. When we dot our I's and cross our T's, we're sure that the NMA is a very strong force to rely on when it comes to the health of the people of Nigeria. So yes, we are sure that the NMA is working for the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors is also working with the NMA on all the issues that have been raised so far. Thank you very much. Julian Ojebo, Chairman Communication and Communique NARD. Thank you.